Yes. Okay. So let's get started. As we do every week, we have our affirmation because we want to keep reminding ourselves of the truth. I think I've shared with you here and there, the Rav and Karen used to say, this opponent in our head, the, what do we call him? The producer of falsehoods and lies, etc. He will tell a lie 1,000 times until we believe it. So the Rav and Karen always said that the mission of the center, one aspect is to tell the truth 1,001. So we begin to believe the truth. The problem is that every time we tell ourselves a little more truth, the opponent doesn't just sit still. It's going to tell us a few more lies. So it's not like we can just say it 1,001 times in a row and then we got it. Because we'll do 10 and the opponent will do a few more. Then we'll do 100, the opponent will do a few more. So we have to do one major thing, be committed to this path, dedicated to our spiritual transformation, and already keep in mind, or make an effort to keep in mind, the ultimate goal. What we feel in our heart and soul is peace on earth, eternal bliss, happiness and joy, perfection. Because I think that's the root of the greatest difficulty we have. Do we really have certainty that perfection already exists or it can exist? And the opponent just keeps pushing all the buttons of look around the world. Look what's happening. Wherever you may be, I mean, here we're in Florida. Okay, I don't know why you're going to get all this now. I grew up in California. Florida was the place all our relatives moved from New York, New Jersey when they wanted to retire, right? Florida was retirement. So I moved to Florida in 2005 and retired. Because it's such a nice place, sunshine all the time. It's, what was it, Ponce de Leon, you know, the fountain of youth and all that stuff. So we don't have any problems here, but for those of you who are watching us, in case you have some difficulty in the world that you're living in, so the point is that we want to keep awakening the truth, but we've got to hold to that idea that there is perfection because it's based on the simplest thing we all learn, whether you want to call it religious or spiritual. If you believe God is perfect, if you don't believe God is perfect or the creator or whatever name you give it, if you don't believe it's perfect, then all bets are off. Why bother? And I'm not telling you to do anything rash, but why bother? If there's no possibility of perfection, then what the heck are we doing here? Just to struggle through whatever, 80, 100, 120 years and suffer and then that's it, disappear? Why? But I truly believe every person in their heart and soul feels, because we understand why from the classes we have here, because perfection already exists. The Creator is perfect, created us perfect. And as we'll talk a little more today, that's our job, to reveal that perfection, not create perfection. That I would agree would be impossible for us, but just to reveal the perfection that's here, that's already existing. So we want to keep affirming the truth. And again, any form of this that works for you, anything that inspires you, and from this, but this is what we do every week together. So those of you online, you have it here. Oops, let me get my fingers out of there. For those of you here in the center, we'll say it together. Consciousness is everything. I raise my consciousness today to see the miracles and wonders of life. I commit myself to behave with greater love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. Okay, so just a quick question that I want to answer from last week, because a few people were wondering when we talked about, I gave the example of the woman years back who was telling me she didn't think that you should pay for spirituality or the classes you shouldn't pay, shouldn't, give money for spirituality, things like that. And I looked at her, I said, well, then you just told the Creator, you just told the universe, your socks are worth more than your soul. And so a few people were asking about it because it's a very shocking thing. Because we don't think so. We think, yes, spirituality, it's important to us, especially you and me. Kabbalah, it's so powerful. Yes. But think about it. If the universe reflects us, so if we are not willing to give, to share, whether it's tithing, charity, whatever, if we're not willing to give, to create a vessel for what we have here, so that most important, we can hold it. If we don't find value in that, then what do you think the Creator has to do in return? Because the universe is just a mirror. So a person who puts their spirituality or their place of spirituality, let's say 10th on their list of things in their life, then the Creator, the universe, has to put them 10th on the list between the 8 billion people on the planet. So no wonder in some ways people have such difficulty, because they want the Creator to put them first on the list, but they don't put the Creator first on their list. Their socks, other things in their life are more valuable. So I hope that awakened a little more clarity, because some people were asking, yes, it's true. Whatever we find value, that's where we're going to go. So to the extent we find value in what we're learning here or in spirituality, then you want to give in return. You want to pay it forward. Simple idea, no? Not so difficult. You have a good friend, did something great for you. What's the natural thing you want to do? Go take more from them, right? No, they do something good for you. You automatically feel you've got to do back. How much more when it comes to the light of our soul? So, as we're going to talk about today, which was inspired by a conversation I had this week, science. You know, I have some, well, from 40 years ago, a little pre-med medical training, a little science. So the big thing that's going on now in all these healing therapies is stem cells. Stem cells, it's a big deal now on the medical front. We got to do stem cell healing because it's working, it's natural, it's using, you know, the original cells of people. In fact, I looked it up as I often share. What does science say? What are stem cells? The body's raw material, the cells from which other cells with specialized functions are generated. Meaning the raw material. What's the raw material of a painting? Simple term, paint, right? You just put paint on a canvas, it's a painting. What's the raw material of a sculpture? Whatever it is, clay or stone or something. So the same thing. What's the raw material of every cell in a human body is what they call these stem cells. So for me, they're starting to get what people used to call mystical Kabbalah. Even science is starting to get a little mystical. If you start thinking, but because we accept science so much, okay, it doesn't seem so mystical anymore. Why? Because everybody else is agreeing, or they're trying to tell us how it works. But like the Rav and Karen used to say, Kabbalah is 50th century science, and now as of 2022, science is in the 21st century. So they're only behind 2,900 years. But they're catching up, because stem cells, as we're about to see, stem cells, as everything we know, the physical is just the manifestation of the spiritual. It's not the other way around. The physical doesn't come first and then we make up spiritual ideas to explain it. No, we understand that there's spiritual, immutable laws that are universal, beyond anything we may believe, not believe, beyond any religion, form of science or whatever. That's what we're learning here in the Kabbalah Center from the Zohar, the immutable, universal laws. And as we see the physical world advancing, we see that they're just proving what the Kabbalists have been giving us for thousands of years. It's just a little easier, where did I put it here? A little easier sometimes to believe science. And I'll give you a quick story. 1973, I start my pre-med studies UCLA. Now, some of you have been around that long. Looks like almost all of us here in this room. You remember acupuncture, right? It was coming from the Far East. It was some strange Chinese medical theory that there were flows of energy in the body, and you know, if you push the right buttons with these needles or whatever, it could activate the flows that were blocked. So at that point, the scientific study of acupuncture at UCLA was relegated literally to maybe a double-sized closet in the basement of the psychology building. Now, I don't know if you know UCLA, but UCLA Medical Center is not only huge, but it's one of the country's top medical institutes. Well, guess what happened? And I don't remember if it was 73, 4, 5, but when science discovered the endorphins of the brain, and that what they saw physiologically, how those endorphins flow from the brain through the body, and it matched thousands of year-old Chinese medical drawings, all of a sudden, the study of acupuncture went from the basement of the psychology building to half a floor at UCLA Medical Center. Because now, in the physical 1%, we were able to prove. But if you stop and think, what would you, if you are a medical researcher at that point, and you found this, something thousands of years old, in Chinese medicine, the flows of energy matched the endorphins of the body. So of course, thousands of years ago, they didn't call it endorphins because it's a word we made up. It's not an inherent word. So if you were an objective, caring researcher who really wanted to find answers to solve people's problems, what would you have done at that point? Some of you hear me talk about it when we talk about the Zohar. If 2,000 years ago, the Zohar talked about good and bad cholesterol, quantum theory, computer science, the seven levels of atmosphere we call the Van Allen belt, 7 continents, all these different things. If we could find scientific fact 2,000 years earlier in a Zohar, the written Zohar, what would you do as a medical researcher? What would be the most logical, sensible, caring thing to do? Investigate more. What else does the Zohar tell us? If we in the 20th century, discovered some amazing thing that was written in the Zohar 2,000 years earlier, wouldn't you say, gee, let's explore the Zohar, see what else there may be? Wouldn't that make sense? Why didn't it happen? Because you and I know, even in its simplest level, there's something that's in the, unfortunately it's an add-on, but an add-on means it's not us really. There's an add-on in the brain of every human being called the opponent that says, oh, no, you're not worthy, you're not deserving, it can't be that way. Only your 5 senses, what you touch, taste, feel, see, are valid. Yeah, but even science, like we said, is going beyond that now. When they first uncovered a human cell, could they see it with their eyes? No, it was invisible. So all of a sudden they said, oh, these invisible things have some impact on us. There's something there. That's not mystical? Everybody here going, okay, Chaim, we already got it. We already believe in that stuff. Let's go. Okay, so stem cells are the raw material that turn into every cell in our body. So as the Rav talked about 35 years ago when I started in the center, there are undifferentiated cells, which they then called stem cells, and then there's the differentiated. And think about, how does a person begin? Human life, in physiological terms, you take a microscopic egg and a sperm. You put them together, there's ultimately the original stem cell. Then those cells, those 2 cells, I don't know how, I'm not sure even science really understands how, but somehow those 2 cells start to activate some living program that says they should divide and multiply, divide and multiply, divide and multiply. You know, as I'm saying that, you know what it reminds me of? And I don't know why I'm on this channel right now. What does the Bible say? You had Adam and Eve. And what did God say to Adam and Eve? Be fruitful and multiply. So you take the egg and the sperm. What does the universe, nature say? Be fruitful and multiply. So it multiplies. As it multiplies then, how come we're not all just eggs and sperm? Because somewhere along the line, those cells from the egg and sperm turn into a skin cell, a brain cell, a bone cell, liver cell, all the parts of our body. But they all come from one source, those stem cells. What guides them? Because this we want to really understand. I was talking I was speaking with a few people yesterday, genetics. Okay, and again, I'm not disrespectful. I'm not trying to criticize medicine. I want us to open our eyes and realize if we're 2,900 years ahead of science, let's run faster to make them run faster to catch up with us. But genetics, at least last I know, you take the DNA of an egg and a sperm. let's say whatever, the male and the female, and you put them together. Can science tell you exactly what the child's going to look like? No. You know what they say? At least as of 1974? Maybe it's long gone. 50% chance of this, 25% chance of that, 15% chance of that, 10% chance of this, and 5% chance of that. They can't tell you what's going to happen. Look at your siblings. If you came from the same parents with the same DNA, how come you don't look like twins, identical twins, clones of each other? Because somehow you and I triggered the 25% possibility of eye color versus the 50%, or things like that. So we say genetics, the DNA, is what makes us look like we look. No, if you really stop to think about it, it's got to be something else, because genetics can't explain it. Probability is not explaining, but we're going to get into that. But that's what they say. Now, Kabbalistically, what's a stem cell? If we're thinking about raw material, the undifferentiated state, the embryonic state, egg and sperm that then turn into all the different parts of our physiology. Spiritually, what is it? Go back to the endless world, what we learned from Kabbalah 1, the light of the Creator. The light of the Creator created a vessel called our soul, the one soul of humanity, and vessel. I'm not sure if I'm going over people's head here or what, right? The egg sitting there, the sperm has to break through, fertilize the egg, and then the process starts. So we've learned in the endless world, the light of the Creator created a vessel, the egg is the vessel, the sperm is the light entered the vessel, and that activated you and me as living souls, and then we came into the physical world, we took on a physical body. So we're living souls in a physical body. We're not a physical body with a soul. We're a soul with a body. So when we came into this world, you and I have come to understand consciousness is everything, mind over matter. So then what guides the differentiation of the light from our soul into our physical life? Look at your life now, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Why is it that way? Why is your life the way it is right now? Because of a series of words, thoughts, and actions that you and I have done. Every choice we make determines our destiny. The way those cells divided, it's not just DNA. Otherwise, everybody should be perfect. Because why does medicine want to go back to stem cell? Because then they can make what's supposed to be perfect, perfect. Person has a disease, that's not perfection. The physical body has the ways and means, ideally, to operate 120 years perfect. That I also learned 1973 and 4. That science was able to take human cells, put it in petri dishes, in certain nutrients or whatever, and it literally, and they would pass it, I guess, from one lab or one generation, so to speak, to the next, and that cell, human cells, would divide and grow, divide and grow, divide and grow for 120 years, and then they pooped out. So they proved what the Kabbalists have been telling us for thousands of years, that our cells can live 120 years. So then we need to understand, why is our life in the shape it is? The choices we make, the actions we do, that start with our thoughts and our perception and our beliefs in life. So it's we who differentiate the spiritual stem cells. We decide what our life is going to be. Your friends and neighbors, the politicians, the military, they don't determine. You and I. That's why every week we affirm consciousness is everything, mind over matter. And isn't it interesting? Even now scientifically, you know what science is coming up with? Mind over matter. Now, some of us are mature enough to remember the placebo effect. What does the placebo effect mean? Mind over matter. They give people, the Rav wrote, I forget which book it is, maybe it's the reincarnation book. The Rav wrote about a very famous story. Some man was in terminal cancer, given basically no chance to live. So somebody came along and gave him saline solution. and said, this is a new drug that will cure your tumor that was huge in his body. He took the saline solution, the tumor disappeared. And for years he lived with no tumor until he heard on the news that what he thought had been this wonder drug was actually a placebo, was just saline water. And then guess what happened? The tumor came back and he died. So for years, we know of mind over matter. Today they have a whole science, epigenetics, look it up, epigenetics, that the environment you put cells in, or the environment that a person holds themselves in, will determine how the cells go, for good or for bad. So they're catching up. You and I are here in the Kabbalah Center. We have the great advantage of a lineage that goes back at least 2,000 years to the original writing of the Zohar, that goes back another 1,400 years, back to Mount Sinai when Moses got the Zohar in oral terms on Mount Sinai. It goes all the way back to Adam and Eve, the beginning of humanity, when they understood also all the laws of the universe. So we need to be way ahead of it. So let's understand what we do, how we act, affects not only us individually, but affects the world collectively. Words, thoughts, and actions decide how the light of our soul will manifest in our life. Similar like the physical, the environment, the nutrients, whatever that you put a human cell in will determine what happens. Of course, today we saw a video yesterday from Karen. Nobody knows the idea that if a person goes to the doctor never tells anybody, you know, Johnny, you better stop eating too many fatty foods. It's not good for the gallbladder. Right? Because that would make no sense. What does the food I eat have to do with anything of my physiology? Hello, today we understand. What we ingest has big impact on our physiology, no? Isn't that why diet, even nutrition, has come to the forefront? And everybody fighting over nutrition. High protein, low carbs, high carbs, low protein, all this different stuff. You and I cut to the chase. It's about the light of the Creator. Guides everything. Everything. So there's a verse in the Zohar, if you want to look it up, Vayeshev 2:14. And I'm going to read it as it's written. I wrote it down, but we'll translate one word in particular. It says, because of the sins, which means in our terms, reactive, negative, self-centered, selfish behavior, because of the sins of mankind, the heavens and earth stop performing their natural function. So if you understand what that means, the natural function of nature is also perfect. There's no earthquake in natural nature. So why are there earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes? The Zohar told us 2,000 years ago. Because of the negative thoughts that people have that influence them to do negative actions. And the negative actions put the energy out there, as it says, to stop the heavens and the earth from operating perfectly. So the fires and the floods and all the terrible tornadoes and whatever else there is caused by human beings. Don't look to God to fix it, and don't call it a natural disaster. And I will say it to you, one of my most despised terms, natural disaster. Number one, it means that God's not perfect. And number two, it means you can't do anything about it. That nature is also imperfect. So why bother? But if you say it's an unnatural disaster, like sickness, no sick person says, well, that's just the way it is. No, we want to get healthy. Why? Why? Because we know health is the perfection, is the natural state. So too, harmony in nature, in the climate and all. You know what the Rav used to say? Way back. The Rav and Karen, we really, yes, they're not in the physical world now, but we can still awaken a greater appreciation for what they taught us. The Rav used to say simple, when airborne disease was suddenly now thrown out into the media about all the terrible stuff going on in the world, the Rav says simple, what's airborne disease? When you speak, right, you breathe into the air, yes? So the Rav would say, when people speak gossip about each other, when people are speaking critical about each other, when people are speaking hate speech, that's airborne disease. Just because science hasn't proven it directly doesn't mean it's not real. 500 years ago, they didn't know about DNA. Was there no DNA? 500 or 600 years ago, they didn't know about X-rays or gamma rays out of the sun having bad effect on people, so no bad effect, right? No, they existed. Just because science didn't prove it yet didn't mean it didn't exist. So we're learning the same thing. Airborne disease, gossip, bad speech. Be careful what you say. Be careful how you speak. What about global warming? Came on the scene. All of a sudden, global warming, and now they're even debating. Yes, no, it's nature. No, the Rav made it simple. Watch. If you do this, everyone see? Nothing up my sleeves. Smile. It's supposed to be happy here. Okay. I see you guys smiling out there. I want them to, you do like this. What happens to your hands now? They get warm, right? You generate heat doing this. So the Rav would say, what's global warming? The friction between people, fighting, arguing, discord, etc. Hello? The Zohar told us 2,000 years ago, the world is based on, operates on the way we do. So we need to wake up and don't say, oh yeah, it's them. Yeah, I heard that person gossiping today, so it's their fault. Hello, look in the mirror. Let's make it very simple. Because you and I, if you're listening to this, if you're a student of the center, of course, we're great, amazing, wonderful people. So we won't speak bad about other people, but let's be objective. The more spiritual we get, sometimes the more we learn here in the center, when you look in the mirror, do you never speak bad about yourself? Oh, Chaim, you're such an idiot. How could you do that? That's also a form of airborne disease. That's using the power of the light that's in my soul to speak a word, which is the manifestation of the light through the words we speak. So yeah, we all do it. We may not do it in the same degree or intensity as other people, but we all do it in one way or another. So we're all contributing either to the removal of chaos in the world or, heaven forbid, to the addition of chaos to the world. There's no neutral people. No such thing. Forward, back, light, darkness, revealed, concealed. Nothing else. Nothing else. And I want you to wake up to realize how much power you've got. It's not, I'm not trying to make you feel bad. The opposite. Let's realize if we could create the chaos of the world, then we can uncreate it and put it back in order. We have that power. That's the idea of going back to our own stem cells. Because what's healing? When you talk about healing, isn't that to take things back to its original form? So then what's spiritual healing? Take it back to its original form, perfection. So the Kabbalists have given us thousands of years this technology called stem cell, because the light of the Creator in our soul is the original stem cell. We often talk about, I think maybe even last week we talked about it. Money can only buy you physical things. And even in that, certain limited things. But the light of the Creator can turn into anything that we need in this world. So you go back today, we're understanding light is the original stem cell. So if there's something in your life, like I was asking you, those of you who were in the very beginning, think of something in your life that's a little discordant, a little confusing, a little chaotic, something you have a little difficulty with. Nobody in this room has it, but okay, maybe you out there. Can you think of something? So is that what God intended? Is that what we're supposed to have? No. So then how do we change it? And that's the key. Our job is to go back. What we're learning here is go back to the original system. True stem cell therapy, but of a spiritual level, where we can go back to the true perfection in us, the light in us, and now we can use that to differentiate into health, peace, love, prosperity, protection, kindness, all the good things. Anyone in this room doesn't want more happiness, health, prosperity, joy, peace, love, kindness? Anyone? We all want more, no? Exactly. But we're in control of getting it. That's the power I want us to have. That's what I've learned from my teacher, the Rabbi Karen, who learned from their teacher, who learned from that teacher, back to Rabbi Shimon of the Zohar. How to use this original, universal, immutable spiritual system to affect not only us, but all humanity, which we'll also get into. Now, how are we going to do this? So what do they do? Again, I'm not an expert on it. I know somebody who knows an expert on it, but the general idea, what they're trying to do today and working on is take a person's stem cell or cell, like a piece of their skin or something like that, and then revert it back to undifferentiated state stem cell, so that then they can, whatever, catalyze it, activate it, stimulate it in some way to be skin cell if they got to fix the skin, a heart cell if they got to fix the heart, whatever. That's the idea. We've been learning from Kabbalah 1 how to do that, but we've never seen it, or I don't think we've seen it in that form. So how do we do it? If we want to take our differentiated cells and go back to the original and then re-differentiate it into perfection. Did I confuse you yet? No, you're kind of with me? Okay. Yes or no? I can explain it a little more if you need. So we do like this, very simple. What's differentiated? We said, but human beings' negative actions cause nature to operate unnaturally. So what does it mean about the physical body? Human beings' negative behavior causes the physical body to be blocked from operating in its perfect state. Health, vitality, aliveness, energy, all of that. It's we who are causing that to stay or go, increase or decrease. So we could call the differentiated state, right, different from the original, things that we would call reactive behavior. Anger, jealousy, guilt, shame, greed, judgment, ego. Those are unnatural, differentiated states of the light of our soul. Because whatever you grew up in or whatever you may hold in your mind, I want to make it very clear. There's only one power in the universe. One infinite, eternal power. It's the light. So you ask, so how come people can behave terrible? Isn't that the power of the opponent? Or if you're a little more traditional, isn't that the power of the devil? Nope. The opponent has no power but what we give it. Even if you want to call it a devil, has no power but what people give it by their negative actions. They're transferring their light force into the form of anger, jealousy, ego, violence, hatred, etc. There's only light. So then you and I have learned, like the scientists, they got to take differentiated cells and then they're going to trigger it into what they want. So you and I, every time we are triggered, every time somebody says something, or you watch the news, or you look around, or something happens and you're feeling one of those differentiated states, anger, jealousy, greed, ego, insecurity, sadness, that's a differentiated state. What do we learn? Pause. In the moment you pause, don't just react. Don't just knee-jerk respond to that. Pause. Now you're back to the embryonic state. Now you're back to the stem cells spiritually, light. Now you can decide, what do you want the light to differentiate as? Perfect health, healing, happiness, joy, prosperity, love, protection? Or do you want instant gratification of anger, jealousy, being aggressive, confronting them in their face, getting in their face, putting them down? It's your choice. We decide. Proactive behavior differentiates the light into a higher, harmonious, blessed level. Reactive behavior differentiates into instant gratification and then chaos. It's in our hands. It's up to us. It's up to us. So every time, to give you an example, every time you're triggered, something happens, boom, you start to feel resentful. Anybody here feeling resentful about things in the last week or so? Any kind of resentment? Okay. If it fits, pause. Now you're activating the stem cell. When you pause, you can go back to the original light of your soul. Now you decide, I want it to differentiate into peace, love, harmony, health, joy, all that by doing what? By now acting, taking the light and using it in an action of forgiveness and compassion. So then the illness of resentment gets healed into forgiveness and compassion, which then also means what? The universe will bring back forgiveness and compassion for you. What about if you're triggered jealousy? Somebody got something you want, somebody got something that you don't think they deserve, and you deserve it. And now comes the differentiated negative state, the spiritual illness of jealousy. Pause. Pause. Go back to the embryonic state. Go back to the cell, the spiritual stem cell. And now decide, no, I want it to differentiate into something that makes me happy. So I will act, I will speak with gratitude. Gratitude for my blessings, happiness for their good, because then my light gets manifest as peace, love, greater gratitude, so the universe can give me more to be grateful for. Because it's cause and effect. Or, here's one, nobody here has stress. You should see everybody here. They all look relaxed, peaceful, everything's great. So you're triggered a little stress. What is stress? Anxiety, stress, I don't know what to do, whatever. Pause. The moment you pause and do not repeat the same reactive knee-jerk response, you're back to, you've turned the differentiated negative into the stem cell of light. Now think, what do you want to come back to you? So you pause and you say, you know what? Stress means I'm not sharing. It's that simple. I can't have stress. If I'm sharing all the time, no stress. Doesn't mean I don't have situations to deal with, but I have no stress over them. I love, there's a part, if you haven't seen it, and I'm frankly quite shocked. I've met a few people in this last couple of weeks that didn't see the movie The Matrix, the first one. But there's a part in the end of the first movie where the hero is completely at peace while he's beating up and defending himself from the bad guys. But he's at peace. That for me is a great visual that I use for what we're talking about. I can be at peace while I'm still handling the problem. Stress is when I'm thinking of me, I'm stressed out because I'm blocking the light. Pause. Just start finding ways and means to share the light. Whatever there is. So it's a difficulty with a person, start channeling the light through them. You look at the world, start sending light to the world. It's something in particular at the office, start sending light to them. As you do that, you release your stress. And you're putting the light out there to differentiate into, and I just had somebody tell you what just happened. I have a student that was telling me an issue with a very close family member that's been going on for years. That this family member had been angry and upset and distant and critical and all kinds of terrible stuff. So I told her what we're learning right now. Take your Zohar, scan, start sending her light. Just send light, light. Reach into her soul, send light, send light. Number one, it takes the stress away from you. It takes the difficulty and the discord out of your mind. She just wrote me, I just looked at it last night. She says, I have to share with you a miracle. Her family member that she's only been maybe a week, she's sending light. Texting her, I love you, texting her pictures of family and friends, this, like almost like a new person. Hello? Stem cell reached into that family member, activated more of the other person's stem cell as she was doing her own, differentiated, and she had the good blessing, the good fortune, whatever merit she had to see it right away. Now, I can't tell you everyone's going to see it that quickly, but you can when you're looking for it. You'll feel it in you. The more you're channeling the light, the more you're turning your negative differentiation into the light to then redifferentiate into harmony and peace and joy and sharing, to do what we came here to do, the more peace you will have, the more clarity you will have, the easier it will be to have answers, because the answers are there. But when your eyes are closed, you can't see the answer. So when we're acting in a negative way, our eyes are closed spiritually, we can't see the answer. Start channeling light, make the light brighter, suddenly you can see the answers. It really is that simple and that miraculous. But it's in our hands. It's in our hands. And the same thing, as they start to activate a few stem cells and they infuse in the body of a person physically stem cells, it goes out there and it affects all the other cells of the body to turn into the properly differentiated state. Health, vitality, channeling the energy, etc. So I want us to kind of close here seeing the big picture. What about humanity? The big picture, quantum. So they tell us, I never forget when I heard one of the students who deals with psychology years back start to tell me, why are there dreams? You and I know, if you study the Zohar, it tells us where the dreams come from, what they are, how we can learn to interpret them, or if you need you need someone. So we started services that if you want to, you can make an appointment with people who will help you interpret your dream. So they said, what are dreams? So the last thing I heard they came up with, it's the collective unconscious. As soon as I heard that, big smile on my face. Because what are they really saying without knowing what they're saying? If there's a collective unconscious, somehow, they're saying that somehow every brain, every unconscious part of our brain is interconnected with everybody else's. You and I talk all the time. We are one soul. There's only one soul. In fact, putting it in this frame. In the endless world, one vessel. We came into this world, whether you believe it or not, accept it, but just look at the simple story of the Bible. There was one being that was created, and then came Adam and Eve from that. One being. One being. That means even though we have differentiated into 8 billion bodies, there is still one universal, immutable stem cell for every person on earth, the light of the Creator that's in our soul. So then, as you and I speed up the process, we start dealing with our own, we start to speed up. Pause, go back to my spiritual stem cells, differentiate it into love, kindness, compassion, care, forgiveness, generosity, tolerance, repair. Don't just sit there feeling guilty. Go do something to pick it up. Maybe you haven't heard it. We have a very young person here. But the old saying was, don't cry over spilt milk. Why? My glass is empty. I spilled the milk. I can't drink it off the floor. I should just cry for the next day or two. No, don't cry. Take a paper towel, take a towel, wipe it up, and start over again. That's what we're talking about. So even your guilt, go do something to replace guilt with an action of repair. Use the light to go repair. So the more of us that activate the stem cell of the light within us, the greater, number one, our blessing and our protection we'll experience. And the faster and more powerfully we will affect all the other stem cells in all the other 8 billion people on earth. That we speed up the process of the removal by transformation of this thing called the angel of death, that is the source of pain, suffering, and death in the world. The faster we awaken the light and bring it back to manifest in its perfect, unified consciousness, then the faster we will be able to end all that pain, suffering, and death, and we'll replace it collectively with life, happiness, unity, and unconditional love. And we will exist in the Garden of Eden, heaven on earth once again. God bless. So for those of you who are online, you've been with us. Again, I want to appreciate what you do share with us to support us, but we cannot speed up our process without your help. And we need your assistance to do it. The beauty is, as we often talk about the light is always win-win. There's no such thing as win-lose. So this is why we take the time now to bless the offering. Because whatever blessing, inspiration, clarity, guidance you've received, then I would like you to consider giving equally back. Because in giving, we know money is a vessel. So the vessel that you create by your sharing and paying it forward is the amount of light from the inspiration or the guidance that you've gotten to keep it with you. Because the more you have a vessel, the more light it will hold, and it will stay with you. And this is why, again, I want to take this time, as we do. Those of you who are here, you can physically do it. Those of you online with us, do the meditation with us. We also have a meditation on the 72 names coming shortly. But just remember, you're assisting, channeling your energy, the blessings you've received through the projects of the center, to 8 billion people on earth, to wake up the stem cells in them, the light of the Creator in them, which will then transform their lives as it's transformed ours. So those of you here holding your hand, those of you online, just meditate. I've put the link so you can give after we do the meditations. And again, I want to thank you and appreciate the support, because it's the only way, not only can we just maintain what we have, but obviously the goal is to grow it until there's no more chaos, no more darkness in the world. So just holding your offering in your hand, it is a vessel we want to fill with love, kindness, generosity, compassion, gratitude, appreciating all that the Creator's given us, that light and blessing the Creator's put inside our soul, to be able to share it. And we know in that circulation is how we achieve our greatest blessings, our greatest joy, our greatest happiness. And so we're acknowledging now on a higher level, with more of our heart and soul, that the Creator is the source of all we have, all we are, all we're capable of. And therefore we are happy to share it with others, to awaken the light of the Creator in them as it's awakened in us, to take away the darkness, the separation, the fragmentation, and replace it with peace, love, unity, and harmony. And together we say, Amen. And now I want to do, let's see, we have it here. I'd like to do a meditation on this name, okay? As we talked about stem cells. For those of you who are newer, this is one of the 72 names, which just means it's a spiritual chemical formula. Chaf Lamed Yud. Each one of those things we call the Hebrew letters are literally just particles of the light of the Creator, like an atom. And each atom has a power. You combine them together. H2O is water. In this case, Chaf Lamed Yud is awakening the Creator inside, which is pretty much what we spoke of today. So just look at it. Let the shapes be engraved in your mind's eye, because we want to awaken more of the light in our soul. Chaf Lamed Yud. Sit comfortably in your seat, feet flat on the floor, hands in your lap. Just taking a few deep breaths in through the nose. Hold the breath for a moment. Exhale through the mouth. Allowing yourself to relax, relaxing into the light of the Creator. Feel its warmth as it surrounds you completely. Feel its vibration of unconditional love, peace, clarity. Feel the warmth of a sense of contentment, serenity that's surrounding you and filling you right now. And in your mind's eye, as you look up into the upper worlds, you see a beam of light, pure, endless light of the Creator, shining down, and see it being channeled through the energy combination Chaf Lamed Yud. That those light force particles are shining brighter, vibrating with true eternal light and life and blessings. Keep in mind that your original state, as given to you by the Creator, is absolute perfection, bliss, peace, harmony, love. And now let the light come from Chaf Lamed Yud through the top of your head. Let the light be awakened in every cell of your body, spiritually and physically, from head to toe. Chaf Lamed Yud, activating the pure and perfect light of the Creator inside you, allowing the perfect you, that image and likeness of the Creator you, to be more empowered, more awakened, that you can draw more easily, clearly its support, to re-differentiate your life, every part of your thoughts, words, and actions, from reactive to proactive, from illusion to reality, from darkness to light, and chaos to order. That you are taking on more and more of that pure and perfect light being that is the real you. Notice the change of your energy, the lightness of being that you feel, and the power of the light that is yours to channel into the world. And together, let's let a beam of that light shine out from our heart and soul to the heart and soul of every human being on earth. That we are sharing, extending that pure and perfect light being that we are to every other person on earth, and awakening their pure embryonic light being perfection. And let's envision together the world becoming more peaceful, more unified, more loving, more harmonious. As we take away the darkness that creates space between us, and we bring heart and soul into oneness, unity, and unconditional love. Let this new energy, this new awakening, this new vision be engraved in your heart and soul, that it stay with you from this moment forward. And commit yourself to continue to maximize, speed up its growth, its expansion, its intensity. That together we can see in our time the end of darkness, the end of discord, and the manifestation of true, lasting peace. And taking one more deep breath to anchor it into your heart and soul, and as you exhale, slowly opening your eyes. Thank you for joining us, all of you online. Thank you for being with us. Have an amazing week. Look forward to hearing some of your comments, some of your questions. Have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you for joining us. If you liked what you saw, subscribe to this channel that you'll be notified when we post new videos. Share the video with your friends, they can also benefit. And check out the website, www.kabbalah.com, that's Kabbalah, for hundreds of articles and classes. Wish you an amazing day, and God bless.